Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/FBIA podcast. Over 150,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. For the listeners of the FBIA podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. Find some of our favorites. Riding the Apocalypse by Eric Alexander. 1984 by George Orwell, The Beginner's Boston Dictionary by Marcus Albee, Plagueland by S.D. Sykes, No End Save Victory by David Kaiser. Books from all genres and walks of life right into your ears. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/FBIA podcast. Again, that's audibletrial.com/FBIA podcast, or go to FBIApodcast.com and click the link at the bottom of the page.
We are stupid, so stupid. Stupid to do a pre-free agency recording. Dumb!
I'm going to do my regular intro now. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Football is America with Ron and Keil. I'm Ron.
I'm Keil. Hello. Welcome.
Mike is not with us today. He has obligations as he is part of the United States Navy and was unable to join us today. We tried doing this last night, but Keil just could not get back in a time where Mike wasn't going to pass out from just exhaustion. So he's not with us today. So you're stuck with just me making horrible jokes, and I apologize.
Well, to be fair, Mike wasn't necessarily making horrible jokes. He's just making jokes that irritated you. I thought Mike killed it last show. I mean, I thought he did fantastic.
It was. He always kills it, which I feel inferior sometimes.
Well, there were a couple of shows where I was confused because he'd say something and then we'd be like, no, actually what happened is this, because there's a difference between not knowing football and not knowing what's going on. And he did not know what was going on, and he has worked his butt off. And it shows. And now he is actually informed and doing a lot of research. And I mean, the turnaround he's had in just a couple weeks is beautiful.
Yeah, we're really excited for him too. Yeah, I like having him on the show. It actually takes the pressure off of me a lot.
Really fast, you know?
Yeah. It takes the pressure off of me a ton. Like I don't have to do very much at all anymore. I just got to steer the show a little bit, and he hosts it for the most part. And I just let Keil do his thing, and then I jump in whenever I think Keil is just getting a little too off the planet. So,
which that works out really well, doesn't it?
It has made my job easier. That's for sure.
We're calling out how it did, but anyway, yeah. So
we have
busy
a lot
day
to get to. Holy cow!
Well, yeah, it is currently Sunday. Free agency happens on Tuesday, so we're in that legal tampering period, and
there's matters a lot at all right now.
Well, that just means that everybody is either getting re-signed or announcing this is where I'm going, and allowing that to be the guiding factor in what will happen in their future negotiations. So a lot for us to do, and it'll be interesting. This show probably won't come out until Wednesday or Thursday, so it'll be interesting to look back and see how right we were or were not. I don't even think we have time for predictions.
No, not really. And we're going to try and get through this as quickly and seamlessly as possible. We've already been at this for a long time today. We had 5 interviews that we killed, and the guests were great. And if you are a fan of any of those teams, and even if you're not, I highly suggest you go listen to some of those interviews because they were very informative. They all knew their stuff, and we were very excited to having them on. And we were even more excited once we realized how good they were.
We actually had people who were professionals, as in their job is to do sports writing. So that was definitely a nice little adjustment for us to have somebody who was so knowledgeable, not just in the team, but how things went. So let's stop talking about us because it's boring and we're terrible. And let's start talking about football, but more specifically free agency. So the economics of football, which is boring and terrible.
All right, let's go right into the players and transaction news. Let's start with Marshawn Lynch agreeing to a 3-year deal worth $31 million, which will pay him an average of $12 million a year. And I believe that is $16 million in his first year.
Well, good for him. I mean, nobody thought that he was going to really retire. does make you wonder if he had run in that touchdown, how much would he be worth? And now it kind of makes sense that they didn't let him do it, because imagine it being like a 3-year, $40 million contract. That would be bad times right there. So maybe now he's getting paid enough to actually talk to the damn media, or at least not be a dick about it.
I got pretty sick of his stuff. As hilarious as it was, I was.
It was funny, but why not be like, what's his face, Arian Foster, and be like, you know what, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it in a British accent. Whatever happened with that? Did he do that?
He did do it, and it was hilarious.
Why didn't I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, on to the next thing, because that's how much time we have for this. I don't care. Marshawn Lynch, run. And then he's got the ball, and then beast mode. LaShawn McCoy, obviously, traded to the Bills for linebacker Kiko Alonso this week, and that is massive. Normally, we do not see trades like this. LaShawn McCoy, Ron is not a huge LaShawn McCoy fan, and that's fine, but LaShawn McCoy he's a good running back, or at least he has been in Philadelphia. Now, he was going to be a $10 million cap hit this year, and it's bad for him because he's put in 6 seasons with the Eagles, a Philadelphia kid, so that's where he dreamed of playing, and he had some good years there.
Yeah, he's a 3-time Pro Bowler, 4+ 1,000+ yard seasons, and it's 2 first-team All-Pros, 2-time FedEx Ground Player of the Year. I don't understand really the move. I get it from Chip Kelly's standpoint. He wasn't a fan of the contract. They didn't really get along. That's where my theory kind of ends on it. Most of LaShawn McCoy's best production comes in a garbage time of a season. That has been his MO. And yes, they have gotten to playoffs, and yes, he has been great in years where they have won, but a lot of his production comes in times when it doesn't matter anymore in the season. Specifically, the last couple of seasons. His best games were the latter half of the season, and you can attribute a lot of that to getting the system down, getting everything together, and finally everybody kind of being cohesive at that moment. But you can't argue with the fact that during the first 6 games of every season, he's at his worst. And that can be said for everybody. But I think he's overrated in some sense.
Well, and you aren't going to get a lot of argument, but at the same time, this is a very confusing move to get rid of such a productive rusher, whether you want to say the production doesn't matter because it's end of the year. A lot of people would say that matters most, because then in that crunch time, you've got that guy who's only hitting his stride when the playoffs start happening. That's a great thing. But Kiko Alonso was injured, and I mean,
but he's an Oregon guy,
and that's where the real confusion for me comes in, because now we've got Chip Kelly creating his little cult of personality here and taking all of his guys, which makes us think this is all that more fuel to the fire that he's going to trade up to get Mariota, because he's so determined to get Oregon guys. And Chip Kelly has had success. You can't deny that. But you can't tell me that he inherited a garbage roster at the same time. There is a lot of talent there in Philadelphia, and Chip Kelly is being touted as some sort of master wizard guru. I'm with Bruce Arians. You can't go ahead and hold up a sign that's got a buffalo and a tree and a dude murdering his wife and stuff like that and tell me that that's how you're going to run an offense. That's not going to last. And now we're getting to this point where Kelly's got this idea that he is the guy. I think he's a little too confident in himself, and the media is too confident in him too. He's rated as like the number 7 coach by most media outlets. I don't see it. He's good, but I don't know about number 7. I don't know.
Well, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it must be an eagle.
That joke is awful, and I really hope that somebody slams a freaking door on your foot later today. That was bad. That is the sort of thing that gets people shot in Venezuela, okay?
Well, lots of things get people shot in Venezuela.
It is true. Don't go to Venezuela.
Well, to replace him, they signed Frank Gore today to a 3-year deal, which will net him $7.5 million guaranteed in the first 2 years.
Frank Gore's still productive, but he's 31 now, going to be 32 this year?
This was too much money. You gave a 32-year-old player who will be 32 at the start of the season, who's come off of 3 total knee surgeries, 2 in pretty much back-to-back years. I think they may have been a season apart, but I don't get it. Like, you trade LaShawn McCoy, you bring in Frank Gore. I understand a little bit of that. That offense is going to require a back that's going to be able to block a little bit more, and Frank Gore is definitely that. And he's also, your up-the-middle runner, and it's something they didn't have with McCoy. He wasn't a downfield runner like that. And they still have Darren Sproles there to pick up that swing back portion. So I guess I see the scheme strategy of it. I don't think I could have let LeSean McCoy go.
Like, he's looking at all the ways in which this could go right and patting himself on the back as to what a genius he is, and not looking at all the potential pitfalls along the way. This is a best case. This is how you run an offense in Madden. This isn't like NFL way of doing things. You don't just, best case scenario, this could happen. No, this is very confusing. And I'm not saying that getting rid of McCoy is the worst thing, or that, bringing Frank Gore on is the worst thing or anything like that. It's just, you look at 2 years in a row, Chip Kelly has gotten rid of what could be considered the best playmaker on offense, or the best talent, just because I don't like this guy. And the reasons aren't really very good. Well, this guy might be in a gang. Well, I don't like this guy's running style, and I don't like his cap hit. You are very confusing, Chip Kelly. You are very confusing. And you know what's the most confusing, Ron? You know what is the most confusing?
What is the most confusing?
The most confusing thing to me is how Chip Kelly is all like, you got to eat right and do all these smoothies. And that dude is a blimp.
Yeah, it's tough to tell somebody that they're fat when you look fat. And that's why I don't do it.
I'm going to down these chili dogs. No, Chip Kelly, you are a bad man. And I do not want you coming to my birthday party.
So 10 minutes after it was reported that Mark Sanchez was being sought after by the Titans, the Eagles just posted that they have re-signed Mark Sanchez to a 2-year, $16 million deal worth $5.5 million guaranteed. That's a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
That isn't backup quarterback money. That is.
Yeah, but he's a backup quarterback that Chip Kelly brought in. And now a lot of these things are making it look like Chip Kelly wants to get rid of the old people who were here when he got here and take his people.
You want to know what? I'll take Nick Foles right now on the Chicago Bears. Hands down. Easy decision. If I was the Chicago Bears right now.
You'll take a dude working at Subway over Jay Cutler.
That's not true. I wouldn't take a dude working at Subway. I mean, I have standards like Home Depot maybe, but not Subway. All right.
Okay. What about like a Bed Bath and Beyond?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And I was even going to give you, and he works in the back in the stocking department.
Yeah. And I mean, that's even better. But the signing for Mark Sanchez, that's going to be, I think that's going to seal the deal. I think Nick Foles is gone. I think that they're going to trade him for more picks, and it would be smart of any team that needs a quarterback to go after him. I mean, that has Texans kind of written all over it right now.
And it kind of shows you that Chip Kelly is a guy who can quite potentially be taken advantage of, because he's going to play his hand way too strongly and reveal too much of himself. And I encourage any Eagles fans that we've got listening to email us and tell us how wrong we are, or potentially how right we are. We're looking at it from our perspective, and that's that what he's doing. You could either say it's revolutionary or crazy, and all that depends on how it works out. But more often than not, revolutionary is kind of crazy in the NFL. Trying new things doesn't often work.
So the Bears are definitely trying new things, and that is by dumping Brandon Marshall. They send him to the Jets for a 5th-round pick, and the speculation machine started whirling quickly.
Okay, what was the speculation
Well,
then?
there's been a lot of different things. Starting off, Brandon Marshall was a 5-time Pro Bowler, and to include 3 years with the Bears. And there was a ton of talk that he was toxic, he was a cancer, that the head coach and GM didn't like his involvement with the Inside the NFL show in New York. He was resented, apparently he was resented among players because his contract was big and he kind of flaunted it around a little too much, and he felt entitled, or he appeared to be entitled because of his contract. And the other things are more systematic rumors that Cutler and his relationship broke down, that he was the improv tool for Cutler. I brought this up during their 2 Bears interviews earlier today, that he...
Yeah, and it makes sense, though. It makes sense.
Cutler's improv tool is Brandon Marshall. When everything hits the fan during a play, who does he look for? He looks for Brandon Marshall. So if you're going to start an offense where Jay Cutler is no longer allowed to have as many options as he has over the past few years, what are you going to do? You're going to take away that one thing that he goes to in the heat of the moment, and believe it or not, that's where he makes most of his mistakes. So that's a good move on them as a system, and I'm sure that's the route they're going to take when they say, well, why did you get rid of Brandon Marshall? They're going to say, because he's Cutler's safety blanket, and we want Cutler to just play the game, not look for his binky. And
this definitely also kind of shows it that there's no marriage to Jay Cutler here. They are putting him on notice.
Yeah, and I think that that's a good idea. I mean, Jay Cutler's best year with the Bears was a contract year. So good for them. And I have some quotes here from Scott Salmon. He's our Jets guy that we interviewed earlier. He had some stuff to say. Hit him up on Twitter. He said he's thrilled, an extremely productive wide receiver that's done it with bad QBs, very manageable contract, and for a cheap price. He says that because the Jets have a ton of cap. And he says he's instantly the best wide receiver the New York Jets have had in a decade. I asked him, are you worried about his age and the possibility that he's toxic at all? He says, not really. I think his style of play should give him a few more years since he isn't reliant on his speed. And then Scott agrees that now that the Jets have picked up Marshall, they will most likely trade their pick if Mariota falls down for another team to grab him.
Once again, everyone, Scott is a writer for gangrenation.com, SB Nation Jets page. So since the SB Nation writers are helping us out, let's help them out. Go take a look. Tell him all the ways he is correct or incorrect. I got to kind of agree with Scott on this one that, yeah, this is a great windfall for the Jets getting this guy. If nothing else, it allows you to not have to draft a wide receiver while still in the semi-evaluation process of Geno Smith. Now, if you get, Brandon Marshall out there, I mean, there's some talent now on the Jets at wide receiver. There's actually a pretty significant amount of talent. You got Eric Decker. You got Brandon Marshall now. You got good receivers, potentially great receivers.
And all different kinds as well now.
Yeah, they're, a pick and mix. And it's going to be great to say, if you cannot get this done, Geno Smith, we do not want you to come and be a part of this offense in the future. And I mean, not that they're going to cut him right away because he's a backup on a rookie contract, but it definitely will say, hey, next year in the draft, don't be surprised to see quarterback taken in the first round for the Jets.
You look at what they're going to have now. If Geno Smith can't get it done with what he's got coming into this next season, then he's not going to be able to, and it's time to move on.
And I don't think a lot of people expect him to get it done, and they probably will have to move on. So
should we?
Yes, indeed.
On to wide receiver Randall Cobb, who decided to stay with the Packers on a 4-year, $40 million deal rather than test the market, where he most likely could have gotten paid way more money. And it was reported that the Raiders were planning on paying him up to $13.5 million. It would have been reported that it was 11, then it was 12.5, and then there was more rumors of 13 and 13.5. No one really knows the exact amount. Everybody's read something different. Everybody said something different. I think it's great that Randall Cobb, I don't think it's great as a Bears fan. From a business and analyst perspective, it's great for him that he decided to stay with the Packers. He kind of gave him that hometown discount. This is him saying, I'm not going to take more money than Jordy Nelson. Jordy Nelson's a monster. I'm giving you the hometown discount. We better win a Super Bowl. Aaron, let's do this. That's what he's saying. That's great.
He's not exactly being kept on the cheap. I mean, $10 million a year is pretty good. Not to say that he'll get all of that, but that's a good deal for him. And he's going to get to go out and be productive and be on a winning team with the best quarterback in the league. Aaron Rodgers is the best. That's how it is. And it's very nice to see a guy wanting to stay with the team that he's been with the whole time and just showing that respect to the fans and to the other people around him. And you know what? He's probably got a good thing going in terms of interaction with the locker room and the staff and all that. And sometimes the extra money just is not worth those little details. So very smart, good for him. Hope that works out well for him.
Vince Wilfork was released by the Patriots just 1 year after signing a restructured deal to stay with the team. And there's no animosity felt. He says that New England is his home. It will always be his home, but he's still got some gas left in the tank. And this was strictly a money decision. He counted for $8 million against the cap, and he's going to go play somewhere else, probably for a couple years, and go back to New England and retire from there. He's probably a pretty sought after guy from a lot of places. He brings a lot to the locker room as a veteran, and in my opinion, he's the best nose tackle that has played the game in the last 10 years.
And I found it funny. We named him our best overall guy in our, Dum Dum Awards and all that. And the way he reacted to this kind of made me feel confident in that decision where he's like, look, I'm on the wrong side of 30. I count for a lot of money. I don't blame them for letting me go even a little. Like you could tell he's just like, no, it's okay. I see what they're doing. I see it. It's fine. I'm going to go somewhere else and they're going to do their thing. And you could tell he would rather have stayed there, but He drew his line in the sand. The Patriots drew their line in the sand. They're both like, well, okay. And a handshake and walk away. And when it's all said and done, he'll sign a 1-day contract and retire a Patriot, and they'll retire his number. And good for both of them. It's actually really nice to see teams parting way with their longtime heroes in such a respectable manner. Speaking of teams being interested, one thing I did find funny is Robert Mathis of the Indianapolis Colts has been tweeting out to free agents he wants to see, and his specific comment was something to the effect of, "Hey, Vince Wilfork, now that you've left the dark side, would you like to come and be a part of our team?"
It makes sense, though.
He also used the dark side when talking about Patriots safety McCourty. So Robert Mathis and the Colts kind of showing you that in that Indianapolis locker room, they would agree with me that certain feelings about the Patriots are, just what it means to be a Colts fan. Very fun.
Ndamukong Suh leaving from Robo-Troy to the Miami Dolphins, where he will go there and drink Mai Tais and be much warmer on a 6-year, $114 million deal with $60 million guaranteed. It was reported that the Lions offered him more money, but less guaranteed money. And that is why he said, no, thank you. And this is the definition of mismanaging a contract situation for the Lions. And too bad for them. And
there's still time. There's still time.
For what?
They still have
for what? For them to sign him? No way.
Well, they could. If the deal is
technically
out there, right now we're in legal tampering, so teams can come to him and make an offer. However, the Lions can match that offer. He's still technically with the team until Tuesday, so they could come down. Hey, we're offering you slightly more money and the same amount guaranteed. He'll probably stay in Detroit, although I really think, like you said, going to Miami, it's warm. You get so messed up there, you pay for Doritos with bubble gum. It's going to be a good time. And Ron, I'd like you to tell the listeners, the people whose ears absorb all of our audio, let it mix around. Tell them about why this is a good fit, please.
Why this is a good fit down in Miami? Because they play a similar type of hybrid defense for kind of like what the Seahawks do. And what Suh has been looking for is a place where he doesn't just line up on that inside and go straight for the quarterback all the time. He's looking for some variety. And one thing that they do is they kind of shuffle their defensive linemen down on there. So he's going to have the opportunity to play inside. He's going to have the opportunity to play outside. And the fact that they already have Cameron Wake and Jared Oderick there, that's going to be a tough defensive line right there. And the Dolphins had one thing in mind when they signed, when they went after Suh, and that was Tom Brady's destruction. That is a good deal for them because they want that division, and they realize that they're closer than what they think because Tannehill has taken some very good strides forward. They have some linebacker issues to seal up, but they're pretty good everywhere else defensively. Not pretty good, but fair. And they can, work on that running back position, work on that wide receiver position, build that offense so that they have the ability to score the points that the Patriots do now.
And obviously, Suh was the jewel of free agency this year. And for the Dolphins to wrap him up, like you said, handles so very, very much for them. And for 6 years, that's fantastic. He's 28 years old right now. So, all right, we don't know exactly where he'll be at 32 or how that's going to play out, but it's a smart signing. And like you said, now you don't have to worry about this, and you can go after wide receiver or offensive line or running back in the draft. And that is just going to be such a benefit to this team to not have to worry about the line. And for Suh, in addition to it being a good fit, a lot of the other teams courting him were running a 3-4, and he does not that he could not play nose tackle, but I don't think he wanted to.
It just wouldn't have been the ideal situation. He wouldn't have gotten the glory as a nose tackle in a 3-4. You don't get the sack glory. You don't get the tackles for loss glory. You are a run stopper up in the middle, and what your job to do is to take bodies. And Vince Wilfork, that's why I think Vince Wilfork is one of the best defensive tackles. Could you imagine what Vince Wilfork could do in a 4-3 setting? I mean, it would be destruction time.
Look, man, all I know is I love Vince Wilfork. I just want to hang out with him. He seems like a cool guy. But anyway, let's keep doing our things with stuff. So Byron Maxwell, leaving the Seahawks, headed to the Eagles.
Yes, he confirmed today that is most likely what he basically what he did is he made an announcement to his team. An inside source says that he made an announcement to the team that he is leaving the Seahawks for the Eagles. And I'm not surprised here. He was going to cost them a lot of money to keep him around. They have a good guy in his backup there. The name evades me right now, but they've produced good, defensive backs for a couple of years now. So I'm less worried about the Seahawks. Yep. Good move for the Eagles. They're probably going to have to pay quite a bit of money. The details haven't been released yet of the contract. And the Eagles seem going in kind of the right direction here on defense, at least. They're letting go of those players that were supposed to be so great and have the potential, and they're going after the players that they know are going to be able to work.
I find it to be kind of funny how good of a deal it is to be a corner in Seattle. It's a lot like being a backup quarterback in Philadelphia. That if you're a cornerback in this NFL, you want to play for those Seahawks. For one, it's a dynamite team, and for two, some dumb GM's going to be like, you're amazing, and here's all my money. And then you go ahead and take all those shiny nickels to the laundromat, and your clothes will be so clean.
Let's keep moving here. Reggie Wayne has reached the end of his contract with the Colts, and the team has confirmed they will not re-sign him, confirming he will be an unrestricted free agent come Tuesday. There is no word yet if he will retire, but it said that he wanted to play one more year, although he said he only wanted to play for the Colts. Does that sound like retirement to you, Kyle?
This one really kind of is going to come down to how healthy he is or is not. When we saw that first Andrew Luck year, Reggie Wayne was great and just totally the leader on offense, not just in terms of wide receiver production, but he was the veteran presence. And in year 2, we saw him go down injured, and obviously that veteran presence made a big deal because T.Y. Hilton emerged, and now T.Y. Hilton, in this third year of this Andrew Luck and the new regime, T.Y. Hilton has taken off and has become the very clear number one, and Reggie Wayne lost a lot of his route running ability, a lot of his speed, having dealt with that knee injury, and now he had a really bad elbow injury, and he was having surgery on his tricep, and it really showed all year he did not look like a capable NFL player, and his targets kept diminishing. And I mean, look, the guy's 6-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, 10,000 receiving yards. He is going to be a Hall of Famer. He's probably not going to be a first ballot because his numbers are not as good as Marvin Harrison, who at best will be a third ballot now. And the hope is that Reggie Wayne will retire. But in my opinion, when a guy is told by the team they will not re-sign him, it's not the way to do things. But what are you going to do?
I foresee him kind of doing something where he goes and he plays a year and just tries to get his affairs in order for that year that he plays. Like, I can see him doing something like going to the Ravens or the Packers, and much to your chagrin, I'm sure, like the Texans or the Titans. He could go to those kind of places and, just got to be a veteran presence, not necessarily very productive, but a very big part of the veteran presence and locker room presence for the new guys, because we know that those kind of teams are getting younger at wide receiver, as, like the Texans are going to let Andre Johnson probably walk, and they're going to be very young at that position.
Yeah, I mean, there are options. Sure, there are options. But really, like, the unfortunate reality is the Colts are kind of right in this one. Even if he was only on a 1-year, like $1.75 million contract, it would be very difficult to justify having him on the roster. And that is heartbreaking to say as a Colts fan, but he is just not getting it done. And you really got to move on and hope against hope that he's going to want to retire and come back to the team as a wide receiver coach in some capacity, because even on the sidelines, he's showing guys what to do and all that, even when he was injured, sitting there giving advice. So he's definitely a great mentor. T.Y. Hilton will tell you that all day long, but his playing days are over. And it's kind of sad because he was just on the verge of overtaking so many guys and so many career milestones. But I don't know. I mean,
yeah, it's a stand-up guy. It's tough to see something like that happen where they have to walk away because of the health and not because it was on their own terms. But we have to keep moving here, Kyle. Yep. The Bills, they settle for Matt Castle by sending a 5th and 7th round pick to the Vikings, who will also package a 6th round pick with Castle to the Bills. And this sucks for Castle, who just can't seem to find a team someplace warm.
And it really sucks for Castle because now he's playing for Rex Ryan, who's kind of proving he doesn't know anything new. And pretty soon here, we'll try and interview somebody representing a Bills page or something like that. And we definitely want to get their take, but it's looking more and more like Rex Ryan is pretty dead set in the way he does things. I think we've been saying that all year. And now he's got a veteran who's not particularly effective. I don't know. I don't see this being a great thing. At the best case scenario is he can mentor EJ Manuel, who, to my knowledge, plays an entirely different style of quarterback. So,
yeah, they sent 2 late round picks for a guy that has been below average to mediocre his whole career and was a 7th round pick at that when he was originally drafted. I mean, what does that say to you? Somebody who has achieved very little in his time there was originally a 7th round pick, and now you're trading 2 late round picks to get a guy who was barely worth the 7th round pick when he was drafted in the first place.
You know what, though? Tim Tebow was a 1st round pick, and that didn't work out. And you look at all these guys who are early to even mid round picks, and they're not even in the league anymore. This guy's still relevant. He's got to be past 30, probably older than we are. I don't know. Whatever. Hey, so Michael Orr defied all logic by being signed again, this time to the Panthers, help improve the Swiss cheese that they have filling in for their offensive line. I'm going to let everybody insert their own blindside joke here. I'm just going to call up the fact that even though she is over 40, Sandra Bullock still smoking hot.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That is no joke.
No, that is totally serious. She is a very pretty lady, and she got a good sense of humor.
Yep.
So it's not all about the physical. She seems cool. Moving on!
Why are you yelling? It's so intense. I don't understand.
Wanted to see a reaction.
Holy cow.
You awake?
I am awake now. If I wasn't, holy Christ.
We've each had like 8 cups of coffee. I've got so much jitter.
I know, it's ridiculous. We've been doing this all day, and there's so much. I've drank a whole pot of coffee. Anyway, the New York Jets were able to hang on to linebacker David Harris, signing him to a lustrous 3-year, $21.5 million deal. And Scott Salmon also gave me a little bit on this and said he was overpaid, but the New York Jets' amount of cap space, he's not too upset about it. It's good to see a loyal Jet get paid. And that takes the number 1 linebacker off the free agent market.
He's not getting paid too terrible much, but I see his point. Saints also able to hang on to a much-needed piece, re-signed running back Mark Ingram to a new 4-year deal. And the thing that I find funny is they're actually paying him pretty well, and he has not yet had a 1,000-yard season.
They're paying him pretty well. I think they're paying him here on what he's going to be able to do, and he better be able to do it, because the last time they gave him a lot of money was when he was drafted, and guess what happened then? Nothing.
Oh, okay.
He had a very, very, very warm seat. That's what happened. Good for them. He was probably going to be one of the most coveted running backs this offseason. So they were able to nail it down. It's a win for them, especially on a team that is like $16 million in the hole right now in the cap realm. So I don't know how they were able to pull that off, but whatever. The Raiders also, they go down swinging as they lose 3 players in 10 hours as safety Usama Young and linebacker Nick Roach failed their physicals and had to be released. And then their best offensive lineman, center Steve Wisniewski, refused the offer that was given and will not sign. I tried to get a hold of Levi Damian. He was a little too busy. He couldn't get back to me. If you remember back to the interview, he said he was concerned that they were going to let Stefan Wisniewski, because that name is awesome, walk. And apparently that's going to be what happens. And bummer for quarterback Derek Carr, who is going to have to learn under another center now too. So
Derek Carr loves Jesus a whole bunch. That doesn't have anything to do with anything. I'm just throwing it out there for general information.
Linebacker Brian Arakpo will not return to the Redskins and has reportedly rejected all of the offers and will test free agency. Good for him.
And our friends at Hogs Haven, they said they kind of saw this coming, and the feeling is sort of you're going to get paid more by a different team than the Redskins would pay, and no hard feelings. So good for him.
San Francisco 49ers signed defensive tackle Darnell Dockett to a 2-year, $7.5 million deal. No word on the guaranteed money. Does this seem like it's kind of I'm going to take it to my old team, or was this just I don't want to have to move too far away?
It could be a little of both. I really do not know. I think that a lot of times when this kind of comes out of nowhere, because I remember us being a little surprised that he was let go, maybe when it comes as sort of a shock, there's that feeling of I need to get back at them. But if he feels like he's going to be a good fit, whatever, man. Good for him.
The Texans re-signed cornerback Kareem Jackson to a 4-year, $34 million deal. And to be honest, I didn't really know a lot about him. I knew that he was a corner, and I knew that he was decent. I didn't know that he was this good.
Well, he's on the Texans. That's why.
I know, and it doesn't matter until they get a QB anyway. So
Exactly. And that's the Texans selected Jadeveon Clowney last year instead of trading down and getting way more picks and addressing positions in need. And this year, there's not really a quarterback for them to be had unless they're going to take a gamble on like a Brett Hundley or something like that. And I really don't see them doing that. So they're in for another year of kind of mediocrity as a team, because if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have anything in this league.
Maurice Jones-Drew is retiring after 9 seasons at the age of 29. And I was able to get a hold of Colton Menzel, who is our Jaguars contact with Big Cat Country at SB Nation. And he said Maurice was an outstanding player who provided an electric boost to the Jaguars offense as a 1-2 punch with Fred Taylor in the mid-2000s before shouldering the full load from 2009 to 2012. Despite doubts that he could carry the full load due to his size, MJD proved to be one of the best backs in the league. His rushing title in 2011 was one of the most impressive feats I have ever seen, routinely racking up 100-yard games against 9 and 10-man boxes on an offense that literally had nothing else. While his incredibly high workload eventually ran him into the ground and contract disputes created some hostility during his time at the end in Jacksonville, Maurice is undoubtedly one of the great players in franchise history and probably the first real league-renowned superstar in Jags history, while Fred Taylor will always be known as the superior back and eternally loved by Jaguars fans' minds. He flew under the radar around the league and in the eye of other fans outside of Jacksonville. MJD was not only an excellent player, but a great showman and the legitimate face of the franchise almost from day one. I wish him the very best, and he undoubtedly deserves to be enshrined in the pride of Jaguars one day.
I take it the pride of Jaguars is like their
like
honorific section.
It's their Ring of Honor type.
That's pretty clever. Not entirely surprising, as Colton pointed out. They kind of ran him into the ground over the years, and I don't know. It's not surprising, and so it's hard to really feel bad or anything like that. But he was a stand-up guy, and he probably deserved better. But that's what happens when you re-sign with the Jaguars, I guess. I don't know.
All right, and as the franchise tag deadline came and passed, and the free agency period kind of looms over us here, Kyle, here is the list of the people that did not get tagged with the magical "You Will Sit Down" sticker of franchise tags. And that was Ndamukong Suh, as we know, Julius Thomas, DeMarco Murray, Devin McCourty, Randall Cobb, Jeremy Maclin, Jerry Hughes, and Jordan Cameron. And a couple of these are interesting to me, such as the Jordan Cameron one and the Devin McCourty, that they decided to franchise tag a kicker in Patriots land rather than Devin McCourty, their safety, who is a very big part of their defense last year. And then the Browns not tagging Jordan Cameron when obviously it's like the only positive thing on offense that they have.
It's definitely a confusing thing for me, that Devin McCourty deal, because Gostkowski, he is a boss at kicking. I will not even pretend like that is not the case. He's probably the best kicker in the league, but you're going to get him for what? $5 million or less easily? $4 million, $3 million even? To lose such a good safety, and you're probably going to lose him unless you're going to pay great money. He wants to stay with the Patriots, but he's probably going to be able to get $9 million a year, which is insanity given that the top safety is being paid, what, 7.5 annually?
Yeah, something like that. 7.5. I think it was 7.65 was the top annual safety right now.
But I've been saying to friends for a couple of years now, look, safety is getting traction as that valued position in the defense because of how incredibly game-changing it can be if you get a great guy, and teams are starting to pay out like it.
So the other players of note that have changed or signed or re-signed, the other transactions, if you will. Bills signed linebacker Keith Rivers. Bears signed quarterback Jimmy Clausen to a 1-year contract extension. Broncos signed offensive tackle Paul Kornick, guard Ben Garland, and re-signed linebacker Brandon Marshall. Vikings signed wide receiver Jerome Simpson. Cowboys signed wide receiver Cole Beasley. Dolphins signed offensive tackle Jason Fox. Chargers got wide receiver Jacoby Jones. Eagles signed linebacker Brad Jones, which that's a bummer because I wanted him to go to the Colts because Kyle's a jerk. And then the Colts signed guard Todd Harrimans, which is funny because he's the Eagles cast-off.
Yeah.
The Saints re-signed wide receiver Marcus Colston to a good deal. Good for him. Panthers re-signed tight end Greg Olsen to a tremendous 3-year deal with...
Oh my God, this is boring. Let's just skip it.
No, we're going to get through this. We're almost there.
Oh my God.
Redskins re-signed tight end Niles Ball. Cowboys offensive tackle Doug Free to a new 3-year deal. Bengals re-signed linebacker Ray Malaluga. Bucks re-signed center Mike Jenkins. Redskins safety Duke Iheanacho
Ianacho. Yes,
Chiefs,
you did it. You sounded it out.
Hooked on phonics. Chiefs released defensive tackle Vance Walker. Seahawks released starting tight end Zach Miller. Saints released running back Pierre Thomas. Chiefs also released starting linebacker Joe Mays. Raiders released Lamar Woodley. Texans released center Chris Myers. Eagles released Trent Cole. Ravens released cornerback Kerry Williams. Titans released safety Bernard Pollard. Bears finally released Chris Conte. And the Steelers released wide receiver Lance Moore. And that is your transactions, and that is how you will get them, if at all, because I hate going through every single player.
It's really... This show, we're just going to apologize for mid-show because there's so much coming out and it's all so dry. We don't get to just, opinion, this and that. Horrible joke about some terminal illness. We don't get to do that right now because we're trying to speed read our way through it. This is like some chick at the bus stop, like really quickly thumbing through that romance novel to try and get to the good part, but then she realizes her bus is here, like, oh, son of a bitch, and she's got to get up and she can't even do anything inappropriate. And by chick, I don't mean attractive person. I mean weird cat lady in her mid to late
You're so sexist and awful.
Well, yeah.
All right, so let's get to the actual news where you can talk horribly about stuff, Kyle, all right?
Yeah, that's what
LaTroy Guion will be given no jail time as he reaches an undefined agreement to the felony possession of marijuana and felony possession of a firearm, from which he was driving his SUV and crossing the center line and failed to maintain his lane, and was busted with $196,000 in cash and just a bunch of marijuana.
It was a little under a pound, but, well, actually significantly under a pound. He was at like 14 some odd ounces, pound is 16 ounces. So he had smoked a whole bunch of that weed and he was on his way to a great, great summer, and some things happened, and let that be a lesson to you kids. You got to get to your destination before you smoke up. Okay. You are not good enough at driving.
Kyle's boy, Leron Landry, was suspended 10 games for attempting to become a comic book character.
By which he means safety that I am not a fan of, was never a fan of, and will continue to make fun of. Safety Leron Landry, recently released by the Colts, now suspended for 4 games this past year for PED usage. The guy looks like a WWE wrestler. He looks like a joke. Seriously, he actually does look like a comic book character, and now he's getting 10 games suspended. He's a free agent. Nobody is going to pick him up. This is pretty much it for him because he's not good. Former first-round pick, so he's going to get paid well because that's just how it works. And now he's getting suspended all the time. I really, really do not. Oh, and also he doesn't have a good personality. He doesn't want to be part of the team. He's a butthole.
Do you think he could be something like a Terry Crews where he goes in and works TV from here on out?
No, because Terry Crews is a fun guy who's doing the weird robot dance and on Brooklyn Nine-Nine and all that with Andy Samberg and whatever. And, you know, that show, I mean, maybe it's kind of going downhill from season 1, but, you know, you still tune in and Terry Crews is there and all that. I think what he should really do is drown himself. Wrong man, not Terry Crews. I like Terry Crews.
Walmart came out to say this week that they don't have any tape of Des Bryant and never did, and that just adds to the mass confusion to whatever is going on there. Just
Des Bryant, we like him. He hasn't done anything recently. This is really, really stupid. And all the people were like, "Oh, I seen it. Oh, it's so bad, you guys." Like, if you want to take it back to playground days, that'd be the little Weasley crap-faced kid that we all hated. And he's like, this is going to happen. I'm going to rat you guys out. And you're like, I don't know. I did some things, but none of them were that bad. And they're like playing it up to the teacher and whoever. And you want to push them in front of the school bus, but you're afraid that the bus driver is going to pay attention this one time and not kill him. And then now you're in trouble. So I really want this to stop. Des Bryant, I love you. Please, please, please punch more people in the face and get away with it.
The Oakland Raiders will remain the Oakland Raiders and stay in Oakland at least one more year. The end. Okay, Deshaun Jackson.
Yep.
Part of he is part of an upcoming Tupac movie in some way. And the reason I wanted to bring this up was because the article's reasoning for why he would be in this movie is that he loves Tupac and they are both from California. And by that logic, Kyle, you should be in this movie as well.
Well, I didn't know that I liked Tupac. I'm pretty white, as it turns out.
No, not you.
Yeah. There's some accuracy to that statement. And from the suburbs even, but not like the suburbs outside of a city, but like middle of nowhere. Like I came from a town that has cows in a prison, And they're both far away from where I was. So there's no like hitchhiker at the side of the road story or anything like that. But anyway, I could not name you a single Tupac song.
Are you saying that I am less white than you are?
Dude, you're from Iowa. No. Okay.
I can name a Tupac song. You can't name a Tupac song.
No, but see, you have to go ahead and take that. Your whiteness is divided by Iowa, and then I will win every time. Okay?
Are you square rooting me with the Midwest right now?
The hell yeah, I am. And I'm right. It's not the Midwest. It's Iowa. Okay? You have a corn festival there. All right?
Yes.
And, okay, see, the fact that you're not like, yeah, is everything we all need to know. You are a grade A honky. It's you and Jordy Nelson out there under the radar.
I would hang with Jordy Nelson any day of the week, and you know.
Yeah, Jordy Nelson's a cool dude, but he's a straight up honky. How else is he so open? Because brothers do not respect him. And I say brothers with full enunciation because I do not want to be stabbed. Which I realize is probably a more racist statement than using the word brothers.
So Giants tight end Larry Donnell was on the Delta Airlines plane that skidded off the runway this week.
That's cool.
He helped 16 people get out of the airplane.
No, 16 people said he helped them. He sat there and probably did nothing because, he was just magically in that position? I'm not discounting him as a guy, but there's always, hey, look at this NFL dude, and then a thing happened, and I want to be able to brag about something to all my Facebook friends.
All right.
Damn Zuckerberg. You are a bad, bad man. What have you done to my country? I say we give him to the Chinese.
The Chinese is?
I like being super white.
Peyton Manning decided to take less money on his restructured deal and is now paid less than Eli Manning. And then he went off and promptly gorged himself on pizza and chicken parm.
You know what? This is a shocker to me because I remember saying I do not see him ever taking less money because that's not who he is. And the thing I like is he took less money and then bitched about it. Dude, no, you don't. You were getting booed at home last year, man. Things got to change now. Your head coach was essentially let go because he couldn't handle you. And now you got the Coobs in there, and we like the Coobs. The Coobs is a cool dude.
The Coobs.
It's fun to say. All right, just try it. The Coobs. It's beautiful. Anyway, the Coobs is going to be in there. He's going to be doing his thing, and Peyton Manning needs to go ahead and learn to be part of a team and a team that is not Papa John's ownership. Because that is a team that said, Fritos on a pizza? Sounds about right to me. Send it out. The masses will eat it.
So Chris Johnson, shot in the arm. And I guess he was coming from a concert and on his way to a recording studio. So I don't know what his plan of the evening was, but he was shot and his friend was actually shot and killed. And what? Like, what's happening?
All I know is that when Ron told me about this, the first thing I said was, God, why couldn't he have been shot in his stupid time-wasting mouth? And it's apparently still funny to Ron. And I'm a bad person. I don't care.
This is going to be my fun topic of the evening, which is that Tim Tebow is making a run for the veteran combine.
Yeah.
He's going to derail your show plans.
No, he's going to go out there and fail super duper hard. And then he's going to be calling me up like, all right, let's modern day Dukes of Hazzard this up. Because let's be honest, my show idea is a good idea. Vince Wilfork's almost done. He's going to be ready to play like the cool fishing guide or whatever. And, be a regular part. And we got some things going on. Jerry Jones is a cool dude. He can take a joke. He'll play the eccentric old man. I like Jerry Jones.
I really think that you should get Aaron Rodgers to be the super cool brother that shows up and makes Tim Tebow feel really, really inferior.
You know what? Yeah, but there's some sort of D-bag quality to him that we all secretly suspected, but makes us hate him now. And so this is coming together.
All right, Kyle, I rushed through all of that for you because I promised you last show we would get to some emails. So I have picked out the top emails that we got. And by that, I mean,
emails? Well, yeah, we're up against the clock again.
Yeah,
so
we are up against the clock. So, number one, Kyle, now that the season is over, when will you do your top 10 stupid you promised? And I don't know what that means. Did you promise a top 10 stupid at some point? Because I don't remember you doing.
I guess the top 10 stupid is me. I don't know what he's talking about. I promise a lot of things. Okay. I promise I'm going to change who I am. My wife believes that all the time. That's not happening.
Hey guys, lately your show has been hit and miss. What's up? Sometimes you guys are all stats with quick jokes, but also have substance. But other times it's like you guys threw it out this 10-story window in the form of a water balloon onto a grumpy old man's head. Either way, it's great, but I never know what I'm getting. Does that worry you guys that you might be losing people on both sides when they tune in and don't get what they expected? And that's from James.
I like that email. I like how within his own email, he gives a great example of what we're doing. Like, hey, sometimes it's logical and sometimes it's this. Like, very, very well done, James. I can only speak for me, but, do I worry about losing people? Sometimes, not enough to change. I mean,
I feel like what we do is it brings those two types of people to the show. And granted, like, for example, last week's show, it can be rough when we do a show like last week where it's mostly funny, and Mike has added a new element and it has changed the show a little bit. And obviously you can tell in comparison to this show where Mike is not here and I'm kind of running the deal. I am not Mike.
Well, let's get into that in the next email.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. And
but I mean, like what we really got to say to this is there's so much to cover in the NFL. There's the news, there's the opinion, there's game reviews. There's so much that you could do with this topic, and sometimes like this show, we had to blitz through everything. Neither of us are happy with that, but it's the way it is. I mean, what are we going to do? Say, oh, this is the only important free agency news. And even then we disagree in the middle of Ron reading out whatever it was. I'm like, this is dumb. Let's not do that. And then we did it because we both have tumors. I don't know. Anyway, what we try to do is have a show that at the end of the day, we're like, that was fun to record. And our hope is if it was fun to record, it was fun to listen to. And if not, then you don't know what fun is. And why don't you go ahead and get liquored up? Because this is America and you can do that. In some of the states, you can smoke that weed recreationally. I'm in one of those states. I ain't saying one way or the other. A lot of you have already made that judgment on me. Okay.
Next up, what prompted you guys to add Mike to the show? And I'm going to take this one. And this is from Amy in Los Angeles. I was just saying, and Kyle brought up that I should wait until now, and that is that I brought Mike onto the show to bring an element that I just didn't have, and that was the ability to make jokes that would make Kyle laugh and not make him go, what happened to your brain in that moment? It's like your brain vomited out all of its energy and you just died internally.
Yep.
Right here on the air. And that was what I was trying to get away from. It became stale in some shows. I went back and I listened to pretty much the whole season nonstop over a few-day period, and I realized we need something new. And so I brought Mike in. And despite the fact that Mike knows nothing about football, granted he is getting better and he is doing a lot of his research, it still brings us something that we just didn't have. And I'm very, very excited for where it could go.
And Mike, actually, I was not 100%. When Ron's like, hey, we're bringing another person in, I'm like, why are we doing this? But since Ron does the majority of the work and he's spending so much time, I'm willing to let Ron, wow, dyslexia. Ow.
Ouch.
All that.
Did you have a stroke?
All that. I might have. Just stop it, Tom Brady. Jesus loves me and not you. I feel better. All right. So anyway, what I was saying is at first I'm like, I don't know about this. This is a weird thing. And the first couple of shows were kind of rough because we were figuring it out. And this past official podcasty show we did, I was laughing more at the crap that Mike said than at crap that I said. And yes, I can laugh at my own jokes. I'm that kind of stupid. Go kill yourself. I don't care. Anyway,
what?
I'm talking to the people who are judging me out loud as they're listening. I do what I do. Anyway, we've enjoyed having Mike because he's been making a really great effort to contribute to the show and not just be a guy who's on the show. I got a guy at work who just wants to be on the show. I don't know why, but because of that, I'm not letting him. Mike is actually putting time in, putting work in. We weren't sure as to how it would go, but sometimes you just get me and Ron and we can get fixated on a topic, and Mike is a great outside source. He's got a hard job in that sometimes he has to understand the flow is to let us act like idiots, and sometimes he's got to say no on topic, and then he'll screw up and say Darnell Lockett instead of Darnell Doggett, and we make fun of him and he shouts, and it's great.
Next up is, will you guys ever do any kind of contest or game on the show? And
I don't know. Will you guys ever go ahead and buy off the stupid Amazon bar?
On the show? Probably not. because nobody has really ever, contacted to actually know that we have a call-in system and stuff like that. I doubt we'll do anything on the show. A contest or game off the show, I've already said that the person who likes or retweets us the most will get a FBI podcast t-shirt. So if you're looking for that kind of thing, then that's what you need to do. So
the thing is, we want to do these things, but we need involvement, and that's just not happening. And you know what? That's normal. We've talked to people who've been doing podcasts for, anywhere from 1 year to 5 years, and they all say, look, people don't really start getting involved until midway through your second year. So we're not entirely upset. I'm still going to say horrible things until it changes, but I'm a bad person.
Well, thank you, Rod in Winnipeg, for bringing that up, and we will do our best, but I doubtful for on show. Next up and lastly, you guys think you are unique, but there are a lot of shows like yours out there. Granted, you are funny, but not original. Sorry. And that is from Ben, who gave us a 2-star rating on iTunes. And thanks for the comment, Ben. And I get it. And, I'm sorry that you feel like your opinion matters. That's unfortunate for everybody else in the world. But you listened, didn't you? And I'm going to default to that. And that might sound like a crappy argument, because if you're listening right now, you listened again. And that just shows that you came back. So if you thought this for real, then you wouldn't be listening. And if you're not listening, great. I didn't want you to listen anyway.
Well, Ron took the sort of intensity that normally I would have, so I'm going to take the sensible approach. Let's see how long I can keep that crap up. Anyway, start out, Ben, thank you for proper grammar and punctuation. Makes me hate you so much less right away. And thank you for rating us. That's something. Even if it's, incorrect. To tell us that we're not unique, are you really about to tell me, you lying son of a bitch, that there's somebody out there? Are you sure that people are making claims that they are themselves blessed by divine beings, as I have done numerous times and will continue to do so? Are you really sure about that? Now, I guess the generalized format is pretty ho-hum in that sense, but I'm sorry, there's only so many ways to talk about sports under the sun. Okay, man? I don't have a flamingo out here that can speak to go ahead and give you a new perspective. I'm not a sorcerer. What the hell do you want? Okay? You want me to cut open my stomach and rip out my entrails and jump rope with them? I'm sorry, you can't convey that over the audible medium that is sound.
21 seconds is how long it lasted that you were sensible.
I knew I couldn't do that. But ultimately, I would be willing to hear back from Ben if he was to give us more information. I do get where he might be coming from, but then it's one of those, dude, it's a matter of perspective. Open your eyes and, like, I don't know, like, what do you want us to do with football? There's only so much. We're talking about the entirety of the NFL. Just accept it. It's life. Stop touching yourself. I don't know.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap up. So, we've gone a little bit over time, but I think I can manage that. We want to thank Nick Wright at soundright.com or sound-right.com. He is our marvelous producer, and we could do nothing without him. Thank you to Cindy for being so patient. You have a lot to go over, Cindy. And luckily, the interviews are pretty tame, so those should roll right off pretty quickly. And hopefully you and your team of extraordinary reviewists can get through all that, and thank you for not calling in a kill order on us every single week.
Yeah, you know how I feel about all this, Cindy, and you know how I feel about whatever his face is who said that stuff. And I'm sorry that you got in trouble by me, but look, if I'm not going to change for my wife, I'm not going to change for you. I am a bad person, and I'm probably going to burn in hellfire for all eternity, and I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with it, but I mean, I'm lazy and I'm not going to change.
Thank you to our military, everybody out there. We appreciate what you do. Come home safe. Like our show. We know you're listening. Like the show. Like it on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Go to the website. Click the links. Email us. All that kind of stuff. And that goes for all the fans. Thank you to the fans, but come on. Something. Anything? I mean, these people, they took the time. I bet you Ben rated us with 2 stars and gave a comment that took him 13 seconds to put together. And what are you doing out there other than listening? If you don't have thumbs, then I'm sorry for my hostility. But if you do, you should.
I'm not. If you don't have thumbs, that's proof that God stopped loving you a long time ago. Jump in that river.
So, of course, send us those emails, fbiapodcast@gmail.com. You can still send it to the old footballisamericapodcast@gmail.com. This is easy.
And right now, remember, Ben set that bar. Ben doesn't much care for us. He doesn't necessarily dislike us. He gave us 2 stars, not 1 star, but he gave a comment and a review. And right now, Ben is a better human than all of you.
Go to the Facebook page as well, facebook.com/footballisamericapodcast. I mean, this is easy. Go there, like the page. You will see the stuff that we send out. I won't bombard your feed with stuff. You won't get a bunch of tweets from us. I mostly just talk about the show, and every once in a while I'll have an opinion, and I will send it out, and people will hate it, and then somebody will be mad, and then I'll laugh. So go check us out there. That's all I have got, except for one thing, Kyle. And if you let me, just be serious for 1 second. I have a very important announcement.
I will try.
And I have a dedication of the show, and I know I did this last week with my grandmother in Leonard Nimoy, but this is also a serious one. Some people don't know, but my wife is an only child, so she's very close to her cousins. Her cousin passed away last week. She lost her 3-year battle with cancer. Just want to give the dedication out there to her. Her dad, John, is a very, very big fan and listener, and so I want to just give him that. And our prayers are with you and your family and all that. And I'm sure Kyle's feels the same sentiment.
I can even restrict from making any smart-ass comments. I feel very bad, and it is the words fail me for losing a daughter. I can't even imagine.
As a show, we're here for you, and of course, personally, we're here for you. So that's all I've got as I end on that note. You have anything, Kyle?
I am going to be in town for a while.
Oh, thank you, Jesus. I really had to kill it this week.
Everybody take a look. Dutch Harbor, where they do all that deadliest catch. I was there. Oddly enough, very good food.
All right. Well, that's it. Everybody have a good night.
Good night. Thank you for listening.